you say that, oh, well, that color complements your eyes, or something that isn't really a direct answer to the question. And that's my overall picture of what has been my overall picture of what a bullshitter is. Somebody who says what people want to hear as truthfully as possible, but stretching the truth, like Lynn cited, is another way they tend to do it. And they're saying to themselves, I'm not really lying, I'm just...
One individual stretches the truth, but only to a point where they have convinced themselves they're not lying.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that has been my picture of a bullshitter. Lying is, I tend to think of that as an intentional thing. You're truthfully, saying something that is not the truth for whatever motives you have behind it. So, that's my thoughts on this.
Bingo.
In the law, and again, I'm referring to fraud. In the law, fraud is defined as a material misrepresentation, not stretching the truth, but a material misrepresentation to get what you're not entitled to, or deny somebody something that they are entitled to. Alfonso, would you like to comment on bullshitting and lying? Alfonso.
I got scared.
Alfonso might be busy. Okay. Let's go to JCC, James Corletta. Would you like to comment on bullshitting and lying?
Yeah, baby.
I had a feeling you would. In fact, I got a specific question for you, but you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with exactly what Violet shared, and mostly for the majority of the folks here in the room, it's a liar has intent to deceive somebody, and a bullshitter is just like, quote unquote, possibly stretching the truth. Good examples are, it's like, hey man, did you finish blah 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 that project I asked you to do? And they'll outright lie and say, yeah, I totally finished it, it was great, it looks good, it's turned in already, blah blah blah. Or by the end of the day, and another one will, the bullshitter will probably say, good progress. They'll lead you to believe they've been working on it. They'll convince you in a matter of way and just totally bullshit all the way around it, and they never did jack shit, right? So, yeah.
Here's a question I thought of when I called on you. Well, of course, you only have to answer if you feel uncomfortable. You've been transparent that your teenage daughter plays violin. Have you ever had a situation where your daughter said, Dad, does this sound good? And in your mind, you thought to yourself, this sounds like shit, but you sort of said something else?
No, I've been quite frank with her on all those instances. And when she asks me, does it sound good? For the most part, it does. And I may give like a little critique, like, could you play it a little differently? Could you give me whatever? But when she is working on something that's challenging, it causes her upsetness. When I said, ooh, I heard a little kerfuffle there, and she goes, so, yeah.
Let's go to Christian, Benjamin, and Jesse. Christian, 60 seconds. Would you like to comment on bullshitting and lying, Christian?
No, I'm good.
All right, Benjamin, 60 seconds. Would you like to comment on bullshitting and lying?
Sure. Look, my comment on Trump has often been that I don't think he's lying, because I think that to lie, you have to have the intent to deceive. And I just don't think that he thinks he's deceiving anybody. I think he's calling people into a fantasy cosplay, the way religion calls people into a fantasy cosplay, to pretend and imagine yourself in a world, in a different world than the one that is real. And look, I've heard, Steve, even people who run this show enjoy the fantasy cosplay religious ideas. People enjoy being called into a fantasy. And that's the model. It's just, he's calling people into a fantasy. And somehow or another, that is different than lying.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, let's go to Jesse. Jesse, would you like to take a minute and comment on bullshitting versus lying? Jesse.
I think there's a problem with how information is spread around, not just social media, but in terms of like how public awareness and how educators are working on different fronts and trying to get people to understand what